The national news media continues to push the narrative of a housing crash looming just beyond the horizon, and they feed the flames of fear by pushing information that appears to indicate the real estate market is peaked and is about to decline rapidly. They use trigger words like bubble and crash and headlines like pending home sales fall for 3 straight months that seem to indicate it's already starting to happen. If you'd like to stay informed about real estate, whether it's the Atlanta real estate market or somewhere else, you can't help but find these news stories. My name is Ryan Ward. I'm the broker and owner of Premier Atlanta Real Estate, and I'm going to try and add the proper context around these housing market stories so you can have the correct perspective and be better able to draw more accurate conclusions about what may or may not be happening in the real estate market so you can feel comfortable and confident buying, selling, or investing in real estate. News and conventional media are still important sources of current information. Just be aware that context matters, and news media, no matter how hard they try, are not really experts at anything, including the real estate market. Their job is to report what they believe to be important stories, and that's perfectly fine. However, if you see or hear something on the news of interest or concern to you, I recommend further investigation into what all of it means before drawing any conclusions. There are plenty of people, including myself, with an opinion of what the future holds, and the truth is, none of us really know for sure what it will look like, but reading the tea leaves and gathering all of the pertinent information can correctly at least give us a little bit of a more educated prediction than a journalist just reporting on a story. The most frequently cited reasons concerning a pending crash basically revolve around a few basic ideas. Home prices are rising too fast and they're becoming unaffordable. Unemployment is or was through the roof, and too many people are in forbearance, and that will lead to a wave of foreclosures that will flood the real estate market, causing prices to plummet. Rising interest rates could kill the market, and news stories of month-to-month sales slowdowns are already beginning to see the crash happen. In a previous video on the Atlanta real estate market, I looked at a Freddie Mac study about forbearance that provides a great deal of evidence that will ultimately have far fewer foreclosures than some will lead you to believe. When you look at all of the available information on forbearance, it's pretty clear it won't happen the way the worst case scenarios play out unless something unforeseen takes place to alter our economy in ways we can't yet imagine. We're literally months away from the country and the economy reopening fully, and even places with the most severe shutdowns are now coming out with statements about the need to reopen as soon as possible. The latest Mortgage Bankers Association report shows a reduction in the total number of homeowners in forbearance, and I think it's reasonable to expect that numbers are going to continue to shrink as the vaccine gets implemented and more of the economy opens up and more jobs return. I'll post a link to the section in my last video and to Freddie Mac's article so you can learn more about it if you'd like. Just know there will be no foreclosure wave in 2021, especially with the extension of the foreclosure moratorium through the end of March. In my intro, I noted that many are throwing around the words bubble and crash. For some, it's just a headline grabber to get views and ratings, and for others, I think it's their sincere belief that we're currently in a bubble. Now, I've been selling real estate since 2004, and I've had a team of agents since 2006, and we experienced the real bubble firsthand. Back in the last housing crash, underqualified owners became speculator because basically, if you could fog a mirror, there was a lender ready to give you money and the rush was on and demand soared. What happened then was really just underqualified owner speculators and over easy credit guidelines set the ball rolling for the bubble in 2006 and 2007. There were, of course, more intricate and nuanced reasons related to the mortgage and finance industries, but the easy credit led to a speculative frenzy. It's very different now. There's no speculative frenzy, and there aren't any over-easy credit opportunities occurring like last time. And speculation really is one of the requirements and main ingredients for a bubble. However, prices really are rising and doing so fast, so it's very easy to see how it feels like a bubble to so many people. It's at this point people start to look for statistics that confirm their beliefs, confirmation bias sets in, and some of the objectivity gets lost along the way. For example, the chart you see here shows housing prices calculated with inflation. This is a scary chart, and if you look, you do see what appears to be a bubble. I really think it lacks some context because it's missing how important interest rates are when we think about the housing market. John Wake of Real Estate Decoded has a great article on this, and I'll post a link to his analysis for you. He created a chart that shows something very different than the first scary chart I just put up, after you adjust for rising prices, inflation, and also include interest rates. Surprisingly, he found that if you have a mortgage today, your payment is lower than it was in 1990. Hard to believe this could be the case, and it makes it even harder to believe that we're in a real estate bubble. The next thing you may have heard is that sales are down 3 consecutive months. It's been all over the news. You know what? They're supposed to be. This is not a news story. Here's an important tip for you. Anytime I hear sales data in a format that compares 1 month of sales to the previous month, I get a little suspicious, and you should too. A better measure is to look at current sales in a month versus the same month 1 year earlier because it accounts for the real estate sales cycle. Market predictions can't be made in a meaningful way comparing a month to the next month alone. Instead, we would compare June with the previous June, or something like the last 3 months with 1 year to 1 year and 3 months back. This gives us better data to assess what's actually happening in the market. Nobody should be surprised that November sales are lower than October sales, or that January sales may be slower than December sales. I mean, this seems to be hijacked data to sell you ideas based on what I think is a faulty premise. I would again suggest you check with a local real estate expert to see what's really going on. Let me give you an example. The Atlanta housing market sales cycle looks like what you see in this graph. Slows at the beginning of the year, picks up in March through June or July, slows down through November, picks back up again in December, and then slows back down in January. It's consistent. It does this every year. Imagine if I tried to tell you the market was going to crash because sales were down from July to August and from August to September. I mean, it's missing the needed context that it does this every year, and it's expected to do this every year, and it doesn't mean there's a problem or even a change in what is expected in the real estate market. With that in mind, here's some real estate data that shows there's no trend of negative sales on statistics that actually matter here in the Atlanta real estate market. There were 7,201 sold homes in December 2020. There were 6,548 sold homes in December of 2019. That's actually a 10% increase in sales year over year, and definitely not a slowdown. Sales are a lagging indicator, though, and so to look ahead, we can use a leading indicator of pending sales. December 2020 is the last full month of data we have, and we see that in December 2020, there were 5,650 pending sales compared to 2019 when there were 4,638. That's a 21.8% increase in pending sales compared to what happened the previous year, so it doesn't look like we're heading for a slowdown from what we see in these leading indicators either. So different regions obviously run in different cycles. Warmer climates may have more sales in winter months compared to colder climates. I don't know how it happens in your local market, and this is exactly why I recommend you get your information from a local real estate expert on top of what you hear in the news. Now, interest rates will have to rise at some point as the economy opens up and we begin to see real economic growth. It's going to happen at some point for sure. Freddie Mac suggests it won't happen too soon, though, saying, quote, "This low mortgage interest rate environment is projected to continue through 2021 and 2022 as the Federal Reserve has voted to keep the interest rates anchored near zero for a longer period of time, if needed until the economy rebounds. With mortgage interest rates averaging around 2.8% in the fourth quarter of 2020, it is forecasted to average around 2.9% through the end of 2021, unquote." Whether that holds completely true or not, obviously, we'll find out towards the end of the year, and it may end up being a little bit higher than that, and I don't think that will be a problem either. It's also true that eventually more inventory will come into the market as well, and that will bring a little better balance to the market, but it's going to take a lot of inventory for that to really happen. The truth is we are already in something of a real estate crisis. It's an inventory crisis, and it's way too low. It's so low that inventory here in Atlanta could triple, and we would still be in a seller's market. And as long as interest rates don't, double or something at the same time, it's difficult to imagine a scenario that we'd see prices decline, let alone crash. With more people receiving the vaccine, confidence should return for sellers to let buyers back in their homes, and that should help bring additional inventory to the market. And I believe we'll be healthy. Just ask any of the buyers that are in the market right now, fighting for a home with 10 other people with offers on the same house. Maybe the advice regarding what we hear on the news is this. When we seek real estate information, the news media can't be your only source, especially in the world we live in today where headlines I mean, they don't even match the stories, and they're just created for clickbait and to sell ads half the time. As is usually the case, the best source of information is likely going to be from an expert in the real estate market locally. Even when a news story interviews an expert on a news show, they've usually sought out an expert that already fits the narrative for their news story. So with that in mind, as we move into the new year, with the election behind us and the vaccine being distributed and the economy poised to rebound, it's my opinion there will be no housing crash in 2021 and probably not at all even farther out into the future. So if you've enjoyed watching this video, please make sure you give it a like and subscribe to my channel so you can be notified when I upload a new video. Until next time, thanks for watching.